The 2006 P. Roosevelt dime is a perfect example of how even the smallest, most common pieces of currency can sometimes hide extraordinary surprises. To the average person, a dime is just a dime, worth 10 cents and easy to overlook. But for coin collectors and numismatists, this particular issue has proven that a simple coin minted in the 21st century can carry mysteries and minting errors that transform it from spare change into a treasure worth anywhere between $22,500 and an incredible $230,000. And the best part? These errors aren't the kind you need a microscope to spot. Some of them are so dramatic that you can see them with the naked eye, provided you take a moment to really look. The Roosevelt dime has been part of American pocket change since 1946, honoring the legacy of President Franklin D. Roosevelt, whose leadership and compassion during the Great Depression and World War II left a lasting mark on the nation. The 2006 P version was struck at the Philadelphia Mint as part of the continuing series. At first glance, it seems no different from millions of other dimes struck that year. But every so often, a few coins slip through the Mint's careful inspection with unusual and striking errors. Mistakes that collectors eagerly hunt for because those imperfections can turn a 10-cent coin into something worth thousands, even hundreds of thousands. One of the most famous and desirable error types found on the 2006 P. Roosevelt dime is the off-center strike. This happens when the blank planchet that becomes the coin is not perfectly seated between the dies during striking. The result is a design that's shifted, leaving part of the coin's surface blank and the rest off-center. Depending on how far the design is shifted, the error can range from subtle to extreme. Collectors are particularly drawn to off-center strikes that still show the full date and mint mark, because that combination proves authenticity and preserves the coin's identity. A 2006 P dime struck 50% off-center, for instance, can sell for thousands, and when it's in perfect mint condition, with full luster and know wear, it can reach values as high as $25,000 or more. But even more exciting are the multiple strike and double strike errors that have been reported from this issue. These happen when a coin is struck more than once by the dies, either because the planchet wasn't ejected properly after the first strike or because of a mechanical glitch in the press. The result is a coin with overlapping or shadowed images, sometimes with Roosevelt's face appearing twice, or with the inscriptions "Liberty" and "In God We Trust" doubled or distorted. The most dramatic examples look almost surreal, as if two coins were fused together in a single strike. A clean, bold double strike on a 2006 P. Roosevelt dime can easily attract massive collector attention and has been known to sell in the range of $30,000 to over $100,000 depending on grade and eye appeal. Another variety that makes the 2006 P dime stand out is the die clash error. A die clash occurs when the obverse and reverse dies strike each other without a planchet in between, transferring faint outlines of one side's design onto the other. This means you might see a ghostly image of Roosevelt's portrait appearing behind the torch, olive branch, or oak branch on the reverse side, or vice versa. These clash die errors are like hidden reflections of the coin's own identity, creating a haunting, one-of-a-kind visual effect that collectors love. In high mint state condition, well-defined die clashes can fetch prices in the $10,000 to $40,000 range, especially if the ghost image is strong and distinct. Then there are broad strike errors, which occur when the collar, the metal ring that keeps the coin's shape during striking, fails to engage properly. The result is a coin that's wider and slightly thinner than normal, with a smooth, stretched rim. On a small coin like the dime, this kind of error can look almost like the coin melted or was pressed too hard. It's a visually impressive mistake, and the more dramatic the spread, the more desirable the coin becomes. Broad-struck 2006 P dimes can bring in prices from several thousand to over $20,000 when preserved in perfect condition. One particularly intriguing type of error that occurred on some 2006 P. Roosevelt dimes is the missing clad layer. The dime, like most modern U.S. coins, is made from layers of copper and nickel bonded together. Occasionally, one of those layers fails to bond properly, leaving a coin that looks off-colored, often with a reddish or bronze tone where the copper core is exposed. In other cases, one side may appear dull or grainy compared to the other. These missing clad layer coins are immediately recognizable and highly collectible because they combine rarity with visual uniqueness. A well-preserved missing layer 2006 P dime can bring anywhere from $15,000 to $60,000 depending on the severity of the missing metal and the coin's condition. Another captivating error that turns up from time to time is the die break or cut error. This occurs when a section of the die actually breaks off, leaving a raised, unstruck blob of metal on the finished coin. The larger and more prominent the cut, the rarer and more valuable the coin. On a 2006 P dime, a cut that covers part of Roosevelt's head, the rim, or the lettering can easily push the coin's value into the tens of thousands. The most extreme examples, with huge die breaks and perfect surfaces otherwise, have even been known to approach or exceed six figures, with some estimates and private sales reportedly climbing near $150,000. The struck-through error is another kind of minting flaw that gives the 2006 P dime a distinct charm. This happens when some foreign object, a bit of grease, lint, or even a fragment of another planchet, gets caught between the die and the planchet during striking. The result is a distorted design or a missing portion of the image. Sometimes, you can even see the outline of the foreign material embedded into the coin surface. Each struck-through error is unique, and collectors love that individuality. While some examples might sell for a few $1,000s, more dramatic cases, especially those that affect key parts of the design like Roosevelt's face or the torch, can easily climb past $50,000 or more. But the rarest and most breathtaking discoveries of all are the multi-error 2006 P. Roosevelt dimes, coins that somehow ended up with 2 or even 3 minting mistakes combined. A coin that's both off-center and double-struck, or a broad-struck coin with a die clash, can easily be worth a collector's dream figure. It's these extraordinary combinations that push values into the upper range, as high as $230,000 for the rarest, best preserved, and most visually stunning examples. What makes the 2006 P. Roosevelt dime so fascinating is that it's a modern coin, not something centuries old or lost to time. It's a reminder that even today, in an era of precision minting and computerized quality control, mistakes still happen. And when they do, they can create masterpieces of accidental art. Every one of these errors tells a small story of what went wrong in the split second of a coin's creation, and how those tiny moments of imperfection turned into something extraordinary. Collectors and enthusiasts often describe finding one of these coins as the ultimate thrill. Imagine flipping through your change and spotting something slightly off, a shifted design, a strange texture, an odd color. That's how many of these treasures have been discovered. It's a combination of luck, curiosity, and a bit of knowledge that turns an ordinary day into the moment of a lifetime. Many of these coins have found their way into major auctions, where the bidding wars can be intense. Auction houses like Heritage Auctions and Stack's Bowers have handled several high-grade error dimes from recent decades, with results that continue to amaze even seasoned collectors. The 2006 P. Roosevelt dime errors stand proudly among them, demonstrating that even a modern coin can command extraordinary prices when rarity, error, and condition aligned at SO. If you happen to come across a dime from 2006 with something that doesn't quite look right, maybe the image is off-center, the edge looks odd, or the color isn't what you'd expect, don't spend it just yet. That tiny piece of change could be far more than it appears. Somewhere out there, a few of these flawed dimes are quietly waiting to be rediscovered, and one of them could hold the power to turn a casual collector into a legend. The 2006 P. Roosevelt dime reminds us that hidden treasures still exist, even in the most ordinary places, and that a coin worth 10 cents can sometimes tell a story and carry a value that reaches all the way up to $230,000. The 1999 P. Roosevelt dime might look like just another ordinary piece of pocket change, a simple 10-cent coin that most people would overlook without a second thought. But what many don't realize is that this small, silver-colored coin has a hidden story. A story filled with minting mysteries, mechanical errors, and surprising twists that have made some of these dimes worth staggering amounts of money. While millions of 1999 P dimes were produced by the Philadelphia Mint, a select few came out with unusual and dramatic errors that transformed them into rare collectibles. And depending on the type and condition of the error, one of these little coins could be worth anywhere between $17,000 and $144,000. To understand why the 1999 P. Roosevelt dime has captured so much attention from collectors, you first need to appreciate its origins. The Roosevelt dime series was first introduced in 1946, replacing the Mercury dime as a tribute to President Franklin D. Roosevelt. His image was chosen because of his tireless leadership during one of America's most challenging eras and his founding of the March of Dimes, an organization dedicated to fighting polio. By 1999, the design was well established, with Roosevelt's left-facing portrait on the obverse and the torch, olive branch, and oak branch symbolizing liberty, peace, and strength on the reverse. Yet, that same year, the precision of the minting process slipped just enough to create errors that would eventually make headlines in the numismatic world. Among the most sought-after 1999 P. Roosevelt dime errors are the off-center strikes. These occur when the coin blank, called a planchet, is not perfectly aligned between the dies during the striking process. Instead of a centered image, the design appears shifted, sometimes slightly, sometimes dramatically, leaving part of the surface blank and the rest showing a misaligned portrait of Roosevelt. The more dramatic the off-center error, the higher the value. Coins with about 50% off-center strikes that still show the date and mint mark are extremely rare and can easily fetch several $1,000s. But if the strike is even more extreme and the coin remains in pristine mint condition, the price can soar, sometimes into the tens of thousands, even reaching $40,000 or more for a spectacular specimen. Then there are double strike errors, one of the most visually fascinating mistakes any collector can hope to find. In these cases, the coin was struck twice, or even more, without being properly ejected between strikes. The result is an overlapping image, with Roosevelt's profile appearing twice, or with the inscriptions like Liberty and In God We Trust repeated or shadowed. It's a mesmerizing effect, like seeing two different moments of minting frozen in metal. For the 1999 P dime, bold double strike errors have been documented, and when preserved in mint state condition, they can easily command values between $25,000 and $60,000, depending on the clarity and completeness of the double impression point. One of the more subtle but equally valuable mistakes associated with this coin is the die clash error. This happens when the obverse and reverse dies strike each other without a coin blank in between, transferring faint outlines of one design onto the other die surface. When those dies are then used to strike new coins, faint ghost images appear on both sides. For instance, you might see traces of the torch or branches appearing behind Roosevelt's head or hints of his profile on the reverse side. These ghostly imprints give the coin a haunting beauty and tell the story of a split-second error in the minting process. Collectors pay a premium for strong die clash examples, often between $10,000 and $25,000, depending on how visible and dramatic the clash appears. Another standout error from the 1999 P dime issue is the broad strike. This happens when the collar that holds the coin in place during striking fails to engage properly, allowing the metal to spread outward under pressure. The result is a coin that appears larger and flatter than normal, with a soft, smooth edge instead of a reeded one. While the design details remain intact, the coin's proportions are clearly off. Broad-struck examples from 1999 can bring in significant premiums, particularly when they are in mint condition with sharp details and full luster. Prices for these coins have been known to reach anywhere from $5,000 to over $20,000. In rare cases with additional errors can climb much higher. A particularly eye-catching variety is the missing clad layer error. Since dimes are made from a sandwich of copper and nickel layers, sometimes one of these outer layers fails to bond properly during the manufacturing process. The result is a coin that has an unusual reddish or copper hue, revealing the inner layer of metal. On some 1999 P dimes, one side may appear completely copper-colored while the other retains the usual silvery look. This striking color contrast is unmistakable, and collectors are willing to pay big money for examples in excellent condition. A strong, well-preserved missing clad layer dime from 1999 can easily sell for between $15,000 and $50,000. And some of the most pristine examples with strong visual appeal have reportedly reached or exceeded $60,000. There are also reports of 1999 P. Roosevelt dimes exhibiting partial collar or tilted die errors. A partial collar error occurs when the collar only partially holds the coin during striking, creating a visible step or ridge on the edge, almost as if the coin's rim is uneven or raised on one side. This gives the coin a distinctive three-dimensional look and makes it stand out immediately when compared to a normal dime. A tilted die error, meanwhile, produces a slightly uneven or warped design, with parts of the image appearing deeper or fainter than they should. These types of mechanical errors are more subtle, but still command solid premiums among error coin enthusiasts. often ranging between $3,000 and $10,000, depending on the extent and visibility of the defect. But the most astonishing 1999 P. Roosevelt dime errors are those that combine multiple mistakes into a single coin. Imagine a dime that's both off-center and double-struck, or one that's broad-struck with a missing clad layer. These hybrid errors are incredibly rare, the result of multiple failures happening almost simultaneously in the minting process. When such coins surface, especially in top-grade condition, their values can skyrocket. Collectors have been known to pay up to $144,000 for the most extraordinary and perfectly preserved multi-error specimens, making them among the most valuable Roosevelt dimes ever discovered. Part of what makes the 1999 P. Roosevelt dime so intriguing is that it was minted at a time when a U.S. mint was preparing for major changes, including the introduction of the state quarters program. With so many coins being produced and so much machinery running continuously, it's not surprising that occasional mistakes slipped through. Yet those rare mistakes are exactly what make this coin so special. They're reminders that even in a world of precision engineering and high-speed automation, human error and mechanical unpredictability can still create something remarkable. Collectors today continue to hunt for these elusive dimes, searching through rolls of coins, jars of change, and estate collections in hopes of finding one of these treasures. Every now and then, a story surfaces of someone who unknowingly spent years carrying one of these valuable coins in their wallet, only to later discover it was worth tens of thousands of dollars. It's the kind of discovery that turns an ordinary day into an unforgettable one, a real-life treasure hunt where the prize fits in the palm of your hand. The 1999 P. Roosevelt dime is a reminder that value doesn't always come from rarity alone, but from the uniqueness of imperfection. Every error tells a story about what went wrong for just a fraction of a second during minting, a die that slipped, a collar that failed, a layer that didn't bond. Each mistake froze a tiny accident into history, and time has only made those accidents more precious. The next time you pick up a dime, especially one for 1999 with a small P mint mark just beside Roosevelt's neck, take a closer look. Tilt it under the light. Check the edges, the color, the centering of the design. Because that ordinary little coin might not be ordinary at all. It could be one of those incredible 1999 P. Roosevelt dimes with a mint error that collectors dream of finding. A coin that once cost 10 cents, but could now be worth anywhere between $17,000 and $144,000. Hidden treasures like these remind us that history, art, and luck can all meet in the smallest corners of our change. The 2001 P. Roosevelt dime might be one of those coins that you've handled countless times without ever realizing the potential treasure hiding in plain sight. It's small, lightweight, and so common that most people wouldn't even give a second glance. But hidden among the millions of these 10-cent coins minted that year, there exist a few rare and astonishing error coins that have taken the numismatic world by storm. These errors have transformed an everyday dime into a collector's dream. One that could be worth anywhere from $21,520 to as much as $121,000, depending on the specific mistake and condition of the coin. To understand why the 2001 P. Roosevelt dime stands out, you have to look back at how it was made. The Philadelphia Mint, where the P mint mark indicates its origin, produced hundreds of millions of these coins for circulation. The Roosevelt dime, which has been in production since 1946, carries a design meant to honor President Franklin D. Roosevelt. The obverse shows his portrait, along with the inscriptions "Liberty" and "In God We Trust," while the reverse depicts a torch flanked by an olive branch and an oak branch, symbolizing liberty, peace, and strength. But as perfect as the design seems, no minting process is entirely free from mistakes. And in 2001, a few of those mistakes became legendary. One of the most desirable errors from the 2001 P. Roosevelt dime is the off-center strike. This type of error happens when the blank metal disc, known as a planchet, isn't positioned correctly between the obverse and reverse dies during the striking process. The result is a coin where part of the design is missing or shifted to one side, leaving an oddly blank or crescent-shaped section. Depending on how far off-center the strike is, these dimes can look dramatically different. If the off-center is only slight, the error might be minor, but when the strike is extreme, showing 50% or more of the blank planchet while still retaining the full date and mint mark, the value can skyrocket. Collectors love these visually striking mistakes, and the best preserved examples from 2001 have fetched well over $30,000 at auction, with especially unique or dramatic ones approaching the six-figure mark. Another remarkable type of error found on the 2001 P. Roosevelt dime is the double strike error. This happens when a coin is struck once, fails to eject properly, and is struck again by the dies. The result is a doubling of the image, two overlapping impressions that make Roosevelt's face appear ghosted or duplicated, and words like liberty and in God we trust may seem to shimmer or stack unevenly. The reverse design might also show overlapping torches or branches, giving it an almost surreal look. The value of such coins depends heavily on how clearly the double strike appears. Subtle doubling might be interesting but not extraordinary, while a bold, visible double strike in mint state condition can fetch between $20,000 and $60,000. In rare cases where the second strike is dramatically off-center, the value can climb even higher, sometimes approaching that incredible range between $21,520 and $121,000. A third error that draws significant collector attention is the missing clad layer error. Since modern dimes are made of a copper core sandwiched between two layers of copper-nickel alloy, any problem in bonding these layers can create a stunning visual difference. When one of the outer layers is missing, the coin appears half copper and half silver, or entirely copper on one side. These coins are visually stunning and instantly recognizable. Some collectors even refer to them as two-tone dimes. For the 2001 P dime, missing clad layer examples have been found and verified, with high-grade specimens selling for more than $40,000. A flawless example with brilliant color contrast, strong strike details, and no major scratches could easily reach values close to $100,000 or more in today's market. There's also the broad strike error, a fascinating mistake caused when the collar die, which usually holds the coin's edge in place during striking, fails to engage properly. Without the collar, the metal spreads outward under the tremendous pressure of the dies, resulting in a dime that appears stretched, larger in diameter, and often thinner than normal. These broad-struck coins are easily noticeable because their edges lack the typical reading and look oddly smooth. The effect is both beautiful and peculiar, almost as if the coin melted outward in perfect symmetry. Collectors love the dramatic look of a well-centered broad strike, and for 2001 P. Roosevelt dimes in mint condition, prices can range from $5,000 to $25,000, depending on the severity of the error and eye appeal. Another intriguing type of mistake seen on this coin is the die clash error. This happens when the obverse and reverse dies collide with each other without a planchet between them, transferring faint outlines of one side's design onto the other. When a die clash occurs, you might see faint shadows of Roosevelt's face behind the torch on the reverse, or faint lines from the branches appearing behind Roosevelt's portrait. These subtle details give the coin a ghost-like or mirror image effect that fascinates collectors. While not as visually bold as off-center or missing clad errors, strong die clash examples in pristine condition can still sell for thousands, often between $8,000 and $18,000, depending on visibility and clarity. Then there are rotated die errors, which occur when the reverse die is misaligned during striking, causing the reverse design to appear rotated at an unusual angle when compared to the obverse. A slight rotation might not be too valuable, but when the rotation exceeds 45 degrees or even approaches 180 degrees, it becomes a significant find. Imagine flipping a dime and discovering the backside upside down or sideways. That's the kind of error that grabbed collector attention immediately. A few verified 2001 P. Roosevelt dimes have been found with strong die rotations, and those in high grades have brought prices up to $25,000 or more at auction, of course. Not all errors are dramatic to the naked eye. Some 2001 P. Roosevelt dimes show more subtle variations, like weak strikes where the details appear faint or incomplete, often due to insufficient striking pressure. Others show die cracks or cuts, raised lines or blobs of metal caused by breaks in the die. While these might not reach the staggering values of major errors, they're still treasured by error collectors and can sell anywhere between a few hundred and several $1,000s, depending on rarity and condition. What makes the 2001 P. Roosevelt dime error coins even more fascinating is that they were minted in a modern era when the U.S. Mint was already operating with highly precise machinery. You wouldn't expect so many dramatic errors from such a technologically advanced time. That's part of what drives collectors wild. How could such beautiful mistakes slip through the cracks? Each one feels like a tiny miracle of imperfection, a moment where something went wrong just perfectly enough to create a piece of art worth a fortune. Stories have even emerged of people discovering these rare dimes in circulation, sometimes in spare change, sometimes in old coin jars passed down from family members. Imagine realizing that the dime you almost spent on a vending machine soda could instead be worth tens of thousands of dollars. It's that thrilling sense of discovery that keeps collectors constantly searching, checking every date, every mint mark, and every slight anomaly in hopes of finding that one in a million coin. The 2001 P. Roosevelt dime proves that even in the smallest details, beauty and value can hide where we least expect them. Each error tells its own story, a momentary lapse in a massive production process that turned an everyday object into something extraordinary. For the people lucky enough to find one, that small 10-cent coin can represent more than just money. It becomes a symbol of curiosity, patience, and the excitement of uncovering history the next time you're sorting through your loose change or cashing in a jar of coins, take a closer look at your dimes, especially those from 2001 with the P mint mark. Check the edges, tilt them under the light, and look for anything out of the ordinary. Because one of those coins might not be just another dime. It could be one of those remarkable 2001 P. Roosevelt dime errors that collectors dream of finding, worth anywhere from $21,520 to an astounding $121,000. A little coin like that can turn an ordinary day into the discovery of a lifetime.